In the eyes of outsiders, I had been pursuing Charlotte for 3 years without success, but only she and I knew we had been in a secret relationship for 3 years. At a party, people asked me if I still couldn't win Charlotte over. Was I planning to stay single for life? Even Charlotte herself chuckled and said, "I know a lot of people. How about I introduce you to a hot girl to have some fun with?" In my previous life, on this very day, I couldn't hold back my anger and publicly revealed our relationship. The transfer student, Claude, walked out without saying a word. Charlotte didn't say anything to my face, but in private, she grew colder and colder toward me. After we got married, I worked tirelessly for her career. When I got into a car accident and was pushed into the operating room, she was in the Maldives with Claude, unwinding. When I was sent to the crematorium, she was in a Michelin restaurant celebrating Claude's birthday. It was then I finally understood, she had never loved me at all. Now, given a second chance at life, I just smiled and said, "No need, I'm already engaged." Chapter 1. The room fell silent. Almost instinctively, everyone turned to look at Charlotte, lounging on the sofa. Her sultry figure stiffened for a second before she let out a derisive laugh. "Perfect. Saves me from having you trailing after me every day, annoying me to death." I gave a faint smile but didn't reply. The atmosphere turned awkward. The friend who had organized the gathering quickly tried to liven things up, shouting, "Come on, let's keep the game going." This round's Charlotte's turn. The task is, pick a guy here and kiss him for 30 seconds. It was supposed to be a playful, teasing party game, but the room went quiet again, because there were only 2 men present. One was me. The other was the transfer student, Claude. Everyone knew that from the very first day Claude transferred here, he and I hadn't gotten along. The leading friend gave an awkward chuckle. "Charlotte, maybe just have a drink instead." "No need." Charlotte set down her wine glass without the slightest hesitation, turned, and with one hand grabbed Claude by the collar and kissed him. Claude's eyes widened slightly, but in the next moment, he cupped the back of her head and took control. When the kiss ended, Charlotte sank back into the sofa, her gaze fixed on me. "It's just a game. It's not like I can't afford to lose." Laughter erupted around us, with people chiming in. The friend beside me gave me a sympathetic look. I was just about to say something when the phone in my pocket buzzed. It was a text message. "Did you get home yet?" Seeing that, I stood up from the sofa and addressed the group. "I've got something to take care of, so I'll head out first." Without wasting another second, I left the private room. Chapter 2. I was reborn a month ago. The very first thing I did after coming back was break up with Charlotte and accept my family's arrangement to get engaged to Diana Sue, the famously talented young lady of City A. In my previous life, my family had also arranged for me to be engaged to her, but back then I had been obsessed with Charlotte and flat out refused. Yet when I died on the operating table, Charlotte was traveling the world with Claude. It was Diana who collected my body in the end. I lowered my head and replied to her message, "Not yet. I'm about to head back now. In a few days, it would be Grandpa Sue's birthday tonight." Diana and I had arranged to video call and pick out a gift for him together. A few more vibrations came from my phone. Looking down, I saw they were from Charlotte. "What's wrong? Can't stand being away already. Weren't you acting all bold just now? Lying about being engaged just to get under my skin?" My gaze shifted to the message above those two, the breakup text I had sent her a month ago, which she had never replied to. I narrowed my eyes slightly and didn't respond, slipping my phone back into my pocket. On the roadside, a black Maybach was parked. "It's not safe to go back alone at night, so I got you a car." "Sorry, there's something going on here in City A, so I can't come pick you up myself." I smiled faintly and replied, "It's fine. You go ahead and take care of your work." Chapter 3. The Sue family held immense power. Grandpa Sue's birthday would naturally be a grand event. Diana Sue had already prepared a gift on my behalf, but to show my sincerity, I still wanted to pick one out personally. The moment the video call connected, a beautiful face appeared on the screen. She was wearing a black dress, her fair skin and delicate features striking. Diana's voice didn't quite match her appearance. She looked like someone with a strong air of aloofness, yet her voice was soft and gentle. I showed her the gifts I had selected based on Grandpa Sue's preferences, one by one, and she was patient with each. Before I knew it, we had been talking for over an hour. When the conversation was about to end, she said, "William, I'll have someone come pick you up this weekend." I nodded and responded, "All right." After hanging up, I went to wash up. When I returned to bed and picked up my phone, I saw a message from a friend. "William, are you okay? The reason I set up today's gathering was to try and match you with Charlotte, but I didn't expect." I sent back a cheerful sticker to show that I really was fine. After thinking for a moment, I added another message. "I really am engaged. From now on, I won't have anything to do with Charlotte." The typing indicator appeared on my friend's side, and after quite a while, he replied, "It's good you've moved on. I curled my lips in a faint smile, exited the chat, and started scrolling through WeChat moments. The newest post was from Charlotte. Let me introduce my new boyfriend. Love him the most. The picture was a selfie of her with Claude. The tone of the caption, along with the emoji, clearly wasn't Charlotte's style. It was almost laughable. During our 3 years together, she had never once let me touch her phone, much less post on her moments from it. But now, it had nothing to do with me anymore. I turned off my phone, and before long, I drifted into sleep. In the middle of my deep slumber, a ringtone startled me awake. Squinting my eyes, I fumbled to answer the call, and the next moment Charlotte's voice came through. William, I drank too much. Come pick me up. I instantly sobered, silently cursing my bad luck. I should have blocked her. When I didn't speak, Charlotte chuckled, still mad. Saw the post on WeChat moments. Huh. Her tone lifted at the end, carrying a hint of delight. I lost a game. Just messing around. I can delete it in 3 days. I said coldly. It's got nothing to do with me, but for some reason, that only seemed to amuse her more. All right, don't be mad. Tomorrow morning I'll buy you those meat buns from the shop in the east of the city, the ones you love. Save some room. Be good. That last word made my skin crawl. I hung up immediately, blocked her, turned off my phone, and went back to sleep. Chapter 4. The next morning, I arrived in the classroom. Claude was sitting at his desk, eating breakfast. When he saw me, he curled his lips into a faint smile and said to Charlotte, who was lying on the desk sleeping, Charlotte, thanks for going all the way to the east side of the city this morning to buy me meat buns. I'm really happy. Charlotte lifted her eyelids. As long as you like. She didn't finish her sentence because the moment she saw me, she stopped abruptly, without looking at either of them. I walked straight past and sat down at my seat to start reading. It wasn't until the break, when I went to the restroom, that Charlotte blocked me against the wall. William, this morning Claude said his stomach wasn't feeling well, so, I cut her off before she could finish, nodding slightly, and tried to walk past her. Charlotte frowned and grabbed my wrist. William, don't be so petty. If it were you and a classmate wasn't feeling well, you'd have done the same thing I did. I shook her off, a mocking smile tugging at my lips. This kind of thing had happened many times before. Claude always found all sorts of excuses to take away things Charlotte had promised to give me. He was naive, gentle, and never fought over anything. Every time, he'd look at me with red-rimmed eyes and apologize. William, I'm sorry, it's my fault. By comparison, I was the unreasonable one, ill-tempered, always causing trouble. Charlotte rubbed her temples. All right, don't be mad. Tomorrow's the weekend. I'll take you to another city for some fun, have a meal, watch a movie. Back then, whenever conflicts between us escalated, she would always do this. No apology, no real resolution, just a movie or a meal together, and the matter would be brushed aside as if nothing had happened. I ignored her and walked away. Chapter 5. The next morning, when I woke up, the Sue family's car was already waiting downstairs. I was slightly surprised, since they hadn't even tried to wake me up. I was about to say something when I received a text from Charlotte. It was from a new number. William, I've got something to do this weekend, so I can't go to the movies with you. Be good, take care of yourself, and make sure you eat well. If I find out you're misbehaving, I'll spank you, and bring your wife's number back. Her words made my stomach turn, and I nearly threw up. First thing in the morning, and she was already bringing bad luck. I decided that if I had the time, I really needed to get a brand new SIM card. Chapter 6. 3 hours later, I landed in City A. The moment I arrived, Mrs. Sue came to greet me. She and my mother had been best friends since childhood. Later, one stayed in the capital, the other married into City A. Even though they lived far apart, their bond had never faded. Mrs. Sue warmly looped her arm through mine, glancing around. Where did that girl, Diana Sue, run off to? The butler beside her replied. Miss was waiting for the young master earlier, but President Sue called her away for something. The way the butler addressed me made me feel a bit embarrassed. Mrs. Sue said, that child is always busy. Busy. William, let mom take you around first. Too fast. I glanced down at my phone. Diana had just sent me a message. Wait for me, I'll come find you in a bit, I replied. All right. Mrs. Sue led me around, introducing me to the guests attending the banquet. To everyone she met, she said, this is my son-in-law, William. Look at that handsome face. Mrs. Lee, isn't your daughter still single this year? Look here, this is my son-in-law. When we have the wedding, you'll be invited. Oh my, Mrs. Wong. After a few rounds of this, I was starting to feel overwhelmed. Thankfully, there were too many people attending today, and Mrs. Sue was busy. Before leaving, she had the butler stay with me. Young master, the garden outside is planted with many of your favorite flowers. You can go take a look. I opened my eyes a little wider in surprise. My favorites? The butler smiled and nodded. Yes, Miss has been preparing them for a month now. We all know your preferences. It was impossible not to be surprised. And beyond that surprise, there was another feeling I couldn't quite describe. At the very least, I didn't know Diana very well, but she had clearly gone out of her way to learn about me. Thank you, Uncle Leo. I'll go take a look. I went to the garden, and just as the butler had said, every flower there was one I liked. As I was admiring them, a familiar voice suddenly came from ahead. William, what are you doing here? I looked up to see Claude standing there in shock. Beside him was Charlotte, the one who had texted me that she had urgent business this weekend. Chapter 7. Charlotte froze when she saw me. She quickly walked toward me. What are you doing here? Behind her, Claude tugged at her sleeve and spoke to me cautiously. William, I didn't expect you to secretly follow us here. Don't blame Charlotte, she actually planned to bring you, but you know, my family isn't well off, and I've never been to another city before. Charlotte is kind-hearted, so she wanted to let me broaden my horizons. I'm sorry, don't be mad. If you have to blame someone, blame me. As he spoke, his eyes reddened. The exact same routine as before. Charlotte grabbed my arm. Since you secretly followed us, then stay behind me and don't run around. Today's occasion is very important. Her touch filled me with a deep sense of disgust. But since we were at the Sioux residence, with so many guests coming and going, I didn't want to argue with her. I shook her off. Charlotte frowned. William, don't throw a tantrum. I was annoyed. Stopping to turn and look at her, I was just about to speak when I saw the butler approaching from a distance with several bodyguards. I blinked. Uncle Leo. The bodyguards following behind him quickly restrained Charlotte and Claude. The butler said, throw these two out. They moved so fast that by the time I realized what had happened, Charlotte and Claude were already gone. The butler gave me a friendly smile. Young master, if you ever need anything, just say the word. As long as we're here, we won't let anyone bully you. Miss is waiting for you. When I turned around, I met a pair of beautiful eyes. Chapter 8. This was my first time meeting Diana in person, and she was even more beautiful than she appeared on video. The black dress hugged her graceful figure, her delicate face stunning. The last time we got engaged, it had been after both of us agreed. Our elders had been so happy that they directly finalized it over the phone. William, Diana walked toward me. I thought that our first meeting might carry a little awkwardness, but she held my hand without the slightest trace of unfamiliarity. Her voice was just as gentle as it had been over the video call. Are you hungry? Let me take you to get something to eat. After sitting on a plane for hours, I really was hungry. Diana led me into the Sioux family's dining room, where every single dish laid out on the table was something I liked. I was a little surprised. She sat down beside me and even put on gloves to patiently peel shrimp for me. It made me feel quite embarrassed. I followed Diana to greet the Sioux family elders. By the time the banquet was over, the gifts filled 5 suitcases. Diana sent me back to the capital, and as we were parting ways, I hesitated before asking, Diana, where did you find out about all my preferences? From flowers, to food, even to gifts. Hearing this, Diana smiled, but there was a seriousness in her eyes. I've always known, but I still don't know what you like. She curved her lips. There's plenty of time. You'll find out slowly. At that, I nodded. It was already late, but Diana had business to attend to, so she had to rush back overnight. After saying goodbye, I went upstairs. At the door, I saw Charlotte. Chapter 9. I didn't know how long she had been waiting, but when she saw me, her face was full of anger. William, where did you go? My expression turned cold. What does it have to do with you? She let out a disbelieving laugh. What does it have to do with me? Do you remember that I'm your girlfriend? My tone was laced with mockery. Am I? Your friend's public announcement didn't feature me, and I broke up with you a month ago. Charlotte's expression faltered, but the next second she grabbed my wrist. Come with me now and apologize to Claude. I was completely baffled. When I didn't move, her anger deepened. I didn't expect you to have relatives working at the Sioux family. But fine, let's say you secretly followed me to City A. But you had your relative, yesterday's Uncle Leo, throw me and Claude out in front of everyone. Do you know how much that hurt Claude's pride? He's sensitive, fragile, and proud. He was so upset he's talking about dropping out of school. When did you become so cruel? Her words made me let out a short, cold laugh. I knew she had misunderstood my relationship with the butler, but in my previous life, I had thought Claude didn't know about me and Charlotte, that he was just another person she deceived. It wasn't until I received Claude's text before I died that I realized he had known all along. Not my problem. I didn't want to waste another word with Charlotte, so I opened my door and went inside. Charlotte stared at me for a long moment before giving a derisive laugh and stepping back. Her voice was calm as she said, William, well done. With that, she turned and left. Chapter 10. The next morning, when I arrived at the classroom, I noticed my classmates looking at me with a kind of sympathetic gaze. I didn't understand why at first, but then I saw that everyone's desks had candies laid out on them. My desk had them too, actually. Even more than the others. My friend Eric came over, his tone a bit complicated. "These are Charlotte and Claude's wedding candies." I nodded, indicating that I understood. Eric glanced at me, opened his mouth to say something, but in the end kept quiet. It was only a few days later that he came to me, phone in hand, looking furious as he showed me a WeChat Moments post. I heard Charlotte and Claude took a 2-week leave. Charlotte took Claude abroad for a vacation. The photo was of Charlotte and Claude together. Claude had his arm wrapped around Charlotte's waist, grinning happily, while Charlotte's hand rested on top of his head. Eric, indignant on my behalf, said, "You chased Charlotte for 3 years without success, and Claude transfers here for 2 months and then..." I kept my eyes on the book in front of me without looking up. "I've said it many times, it has nothing to do with me anymore." Eric sighed at that. "Forget it. I guess you two just aren't fated to be." Then he patted my shoulder. "How about a get-together after school tonight? I booked a private room at Nightlight Club." I didn't refuse, just nodded. Chapter 11. Eric skipped a class and went there early. I waited until school ended before heading over. When I arrived, there were already people sitting in the private room. In the innermost seat sat Charlotte and Claude. Eric got to me first, grabbing my arm and pulling me inside with a shout. "Charlotte, look who's here." My face darkened. Charlotte leaned back on the sofa, let out a mocking laugh, and looked at me with a half-smile. I turned to look at Eric. His expression was evasive, but he still urged me. "William, sit next to Charlotte, there's a seat there." I didn't say anything. I just looked at him quietly. Eric and I had known each other since our first day at school. We often attended classes together, ate together, and even traveled during breaks. I had truly treated him like a brother. Charlotte stood up from the sofa, naturally looping her arm through Claude's as she lifted her chin toward him. "Let's go. Didn't you say you wanted dessert from C's tonight? I'll take you there now." Claude's cheeks turned red, and he nodded. As they walked past me, Claude glanced back and gave me a smug smile. Eric saw it too. He was furious. "William, did you see that? How arrogant he is." I didn't respond, only looked at him calmly. Eric pressed his lips together. "William, I really can't stand Claude." "Of course. Mostly I just feel bad for you. How can he swoop in and take your place like that?" I said. "Don't have any more contact with me from now on." Chapter 12. When I walked out of the club, Charlotte was standing alone by the entrance, leaning against the doorframe with her bag in hand. Seeing me, she crossed her arms over her chest, blocking my path, a smile playing on her lips. "This time you held out quite a while, broke your own record. But what's this? Getting thinner-skinned now? You don't come looking for me yourself, so you use your friend instead." Over the past 3 years, Charlotte and I had had our cold wars, but every time, she was the one giving me the silent treatment, and I could never hold out more than a few days before lowering my head and asking for peace. Charlotte smiled, reaching out as if to hook her arm through mine. "All right, I'm guessing you've spent this past half-month reflecting and realized you were in the wrong." I was about to sidestep her, but her hand froze in midair first, because Claude had appeared not far away, carrying desserts. He didn't say a word, just stood there quietly, the corners of his eyes tinged red. Charlotte glanced at me, then at him, and finally lowered her hand. "William, go back first. I'll come find you tonight." With that, she turned and walked toward Claude. Chapter 13. Claude handed the desserts to Charlotte, his voice slightly choked. "Charlotte, do you want to eat this?" Normally, Charlotte would have smiled and told Claude to feed her, but thinking of having just seen William, Charlotte said, "Not right now, Claude. I'm going to delete the post on WeChat Moments." Since William had taken the initiative to back down, Charlotte felt she ought to give him some response. After all, William was the boyfriend she had been with for 3 years. Claude's voice trembled, but he still said, "All right." Then he added, "Charlotte, it's getting late. I'm worried it's not safe for you to go home alone. Can you walk me back?" Charlotte did not refuse. Chapter 14. After washing up and getting into bed that night, I received a text message from an unfamiliar number. It was an image. When I opened it, I saw Charlotte and Claude lying together in bed, sleeping in each other's arms. "William, Charlotte is mine. You can't take her from me." There was no need to guess who had sent it. I smiled faintly and replied, "Trash in the trash can, quite a match." Apparently dissatisfied, Claude sent another photo of him and Charlotte in a different pose. "Still talking tough. Just don't cry into your pillow at night." I rolled my eyes. Idiot. The next morning, I went to class. Not long after I sat down, Charlotte took the seat beside me. "Your favorite buns." When I looked at her, she lifted her chin slightly. "What are you staring at me for? Touched? Eat before they get cold." Charlotte always managed to say things that made my skin crawl. We had once been desk mates, but ever since Claude arrived, she had moved to sit beside him under the pretense of helping the new student. Now she was back. I had no idea what she was trying to do, but since the teacher had already arrived, I didn't want to argue and disrupt the class, so I held back. After class, I went to the teacher to request a seat change. After school, Charlotte blocked me at the school gate, frowning. "William, what are you doing? Why did you change seats?" I looked at her calmly. "Because I wanted to." "No reason." Charlotte stared at my face, then let out a laugh. "All right, don't sulk anymore. I was going to come see you last night, but it got late and I didn't want to wake you if you were asleep." She then pulled out her phone and handed it to me, speaking as if expecting praise. "Look, I deleted everything from WeChat Moments. From now on, if you want to check my phone, you can check it anytime." "Okay." She suddenly leaned closer, lowering her voice, and ended her words with a teasing lilt. I couldn't hold back the nausea and took a step back, vomiting right there in front of her. Charlotte's expression darkened. "William." I was about to say something when my phone rang. It was Diana. "William, I'm outside your school." My eyes lit up, and I glanced around. A low-profile yet luxurious Maybach was parked not far away. I quickly walked over. The car started and pulled away from the school gates. Sitting in the passenger seat, I hesitated for a moment before saying to Diana, "She's my ex-girlfriend, but we've already broken up." After I said it, a faint unease stirred inside me. Diana smiled, not showing the slightest surprise. I know. I don't mind." She paused for a moment before adding, "William, I don't mind, not because I have no feelings for you, but because I care about you very much. You're the partner I've chosen, and I can accept everything about your past." Seeing the sincerity in her eyes, it was impossible not to feel moved. My eyes turned slightly red as I sniffed and looked out the window. Diana didn't say anything else, she simply held my hand more tightly. Chapter 15. This time, Diana had come with Mr. and Mrs. Sue. They would be staying in the capital for a few days to hold a supplementary engagement ceremony for me and Diana. The two families had agreed, the engagement would be in the capital, and the wedding in City A. Diana was now picking me up to go to the restaurant, where our elders were already waiting. When we arrived and got out of the car, I glanced at my phone and saw dozens of messages and missed calls. My brows furrowed. This was my new number. All of them were from Charlotte. "William, whose car did you get into?" "William, answer the phone. Don't make me angry." "William." Charlotte called again. I hit decline, then blocked her and set my phone to silence calls from unfamiliar numbers. Diana waited patiently by my side. When I finished, she took my hand gently. "Let's go." Chapter 16. I'm not fond of noisy gatherings, but for the engagement, the elders from both families sat together. After the meal, Mr. and Mrs. Sue returned first, leaving Diana in the capital to spend a few days with me. While we were talking, I received several WeChat messages from friends and classmates. "William, didn't expect you to be hiding something this big. You've been with Charlotte all along. Wow. I thought you were just a simp chasing her all this time, but turns out you already conquered her ages ago. William, what's going on? Tell me everything. I'm dying of curiosity." I frowned and opened a screenshot one of them sent. In it, Charlotte had made a WeChat Moments announcement. "Let me introduce my boyfriend of 3 years, William." In that instant, anger surged through me. I turned to Diana. "Can we take a picture together?" Without a word, Diana put her arm around my shoulders, took my phone, and snapped a photo. I posted that picture on my own WeChat Moments. The next second, my moments exploded. Friends flooded in with questions, asking what had happened and what was going on. In the comments section, I posted a photo from a few months ago, when I had broken up with Charlotte. Chapter 17. When Diana and I returned home, we ran into Charlotte at the door. Her eyes were bloodshot, her fists clenched, and she stared at me in disbelief. "William, how could you do this to me? It's all fake, right? I know, you're mad at me for standing you up a few times before. I won't do it again, okay? William, don't find another woman just to spite me." She hurried over, reaching out to grab me, but Diana stepped in to block her. Charlotte was tall, but still half a head shorter than Diana. Fury flashed across her face as she tried to push Diana, but I got there first and slapped Charlotte hard across the face. "Charlotte, can you stop disgusting me already?" The air went silent. "Find another woman just to provoke you. How big is your ego? Don't you feel the slightest bit ashamed?" "You may not feel ashamed, but I feel sick. I told you long ago that we broke up, that we have nothing to do with each other anymore. I'm already engaged, don't come bothering me again." The whole scene struck me as laughable. In my previous life, I had refused to let go and married Charlotte. After the wedding, she treated me with cold indifference at every turn, and even in my final moments, she was off traveling with Claude. Now, when I wanted nothing to do with her, she clung to me relentlessly. Was she really that shameless? Charlotte stood frozen in place, saying nothing, but her feet didn't move as she watched Diana and me walk inside. In that moment, she realized I wasn't joking. Something had been lost, forever. Chapter 18. The next few days happened to be a holiday. and Diana and I spent them traveling. When we came back, I heard some news from a friend. Charlotte and Claude were engaged. That's good. In my previous life, Charlotte had always wanted to be with Claude, but because of me, they could never openly be together. This time around, they had gotten what they wanted. You don't know, they made a total fool of themselves. I raised an eyebrow. A scene. Yeah, my friend nodded. You know how fast gossip spreads on campus. Someone dug up that during the time you were with Charlotte, she went out with Claude multiple times and did all sorts of ambiguous things. To clear her name with Claude, Charlotte came out to clarify that they were just friends, and that the earlier stuff was just because she lost a game. TSK. My friend curled his lip. What kind of friends hug, cuddle, and go on overseas trips together? Just the two of them. Oh wait, there's a kind, boyfriend and girlfriend. I chuckled. Charlotte really is a piece of work, but Claude is something else too. On the surface, he backed up Charlotte's words, publicly claiming they were just friends, but then he turned around and took those bed photos straight to the Lee family. I remembered how Claude had sent me those pictures of him and Charlotte sleeping together, holding each other in bed, and how Charlotte had been able to act like nothing had happened the very next day, wanting to reconcile with me. It made me feel even more disgusted by her. My friend nodded. Naturally, the Lee family couldn't let such a scandal get out, so they immediately arranged for Charlotte and Claude to get engaged. In the end, my friend added with relief, good thing you were smart enough to break up with her, even back when you liked her. I wanted to tell you, Charlotte never looked like the kind of person who takes relationships seriously. She's not the marrying type. Smart. It was a lesson paid for with a lifetime, because I had already died once. Chapter 19. In the days that followed, I was busy with graduation and preparing for the postgraduate entrance exams, but every weekend, Diana would come to see me. It just so happened that one of those days was my birthday, a fact I had even forgotten myself. Yet Diana appeared in front of me holding a birthday cake and a bouquet of flowers, but I was sure I had never told her about it. How do you know so much about me? Diana chuckled softly. Maybe it's because we're connected by fate. Is that so? I remained skeptical, but in private, I went to Mrs. Sue to learn more about Diana. Mrs. Sue told me that I had actually met Diana when I was little. I was shocked. When? How did I not know? Before you turned 5, I brought Diana to your house. Back then, you kept saying she was pretty and that you'd marry her when you grew up. My face flushed red. I truly didn't remember this at all. When I was 5, I had fallen into the water, developed a high fever, and after waking up, I had forgotten everything that had happened before the age of 5. Chapter 20. The next time I heard news about Charlotte and Claude was a few months later. I heard that Charlotte had gone to prison. That news honestly shocked me. Right after graduation, the Lee family forced Charlotte Lee and Claude to marry. After the wedding, Charlotte often fought with Claude. Every time they argued, she wouldn't come home at night, instead going to bars and messing around. Over time, Claude couldn't stand it anymore. Holding their child, he went to a bar to find her and bring her home. Charlotte felt embarrassed to be confronted like that in public. During the struggle, she pushed Claude, and his head hit the corner of a table. Just bad luck. I guess, he hit a nerve, and it killed him instantly. Claude's family lost their son, so of course they weren't going to let it slide. They argued with the Lee family, wanting money to settle it. But the Lee family has many children, and Charlotte and Claude's scandal had already shamed them. How could they spend money to protect her? They simply handed Charlotte over. Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel a bit of sighing pity. But I had already experienced the Lee family's coldness in my previous life, when I had gotten into a car accident while running around for Charlotte's career, and was wheeled into the operating room. Unable to reach her, I had called the Lee family. All they said was for me to handle it myself. All right, enough of that, your girlfriend's here to see you. My friend gave me a wink. I looked up and saw Diana standing not far away, smiling at me. I stood and walked over, naturally taking her hand. It's not the weekend. What brings you here? Leaning on my arm, Diana tilted her face up toward me. I came because I missed you. I smiled. That answer, I like. Chapter 21. Diana's extra story. I first met William when he was 5 and I was 8. According to my mother, William was the little husband she had found for me, and the two of us would get married in the future. I was immediately unhappy about it. How could I marry someone I had never even met? I didn't want to go, but being young, I couldn't fight against the adults, so I was dragged to William's house. When we first met, he was crying miserably for some reason, snot and tears all over his face. I found him utterly disgusting, but the moment he saw me, he stopped crying. Before I could react, he ran over and hugged my legs, calling out in a clear, sweet voice, "Pretty sister." Then he wiped his snot on me. Wonderful. In that moment, I had only one thought, throw him out, but William's mother beat me to it. Scooping him up, my mom stood off to the side, smiling so hard her eyes disappeared. I was in a foul mood that day. and the idea of marrying him made it even worse. I wanted to leave that very day, but my mom insisted on staying at William's house for a while. From that day on, I had a little shadow following me everywhere. Before dawn every morning, he would climb into my bed, calling for me to get up and play. When night fell, he would climb into my bed again, asking to sleep beside me. It drove me crazy, but he was kind of good-looking. There were a few times I wanted to secretly make him cry so he'd stop clinging to me, but when I looked into those big, watery eyes, I couldn't bring myself to do it. Forget it, no point holding grudges against a little kid. The day I left, William held my hand and secretly led me out of the house to a riverbank. He said he had seen lots of little fish in the water and wanted to catch some for me as a parting gift. I thought it wasn't safe and planned to take him back, but he moved too fast and accidentally fell in. I panicked and, without thinking, jumped in after him, pushing him to shore. But I was still young myself. After getting him out, I was too exhausted to climb up and was swept away by the current. When I woke again, I was in a hospital bed. My mom was crying beside me, and my dad asked why I had gone to the river. I thought for a moment, then said it was my idea to catch fish and take William there. That day, I was whipped dozens of times with a belt, beaten so badly I couldn't get out of bed for nearly a month. From then on, I held a grudge against William in my heart. I swore that if I ever married him, I'd make sure to bully him back. But, as we grew older, William forgot me entirely. It felt like my whole world had collapsed. I found out he already liked another girl, so I could only bury my feelings deep inside. Until one day, when I was in the capital on business and went to visit a friend at the hospital, I saw him covered in blood being rushed into surgery. With just one glance, I recognized him. It was William. He had been in a car accident and was bleeding heavily, while his wife was abroad on vacation with her lover. In that moment, my eyes turned red, and I had only one thought: destroy Charlotte. And later, I did exactly that. Until I opened my eyes again and found that I had been reborn. Memories intact. Reborn to a time when he hadn't yet married, when everything could still be changed. This time, I still asked my parents to arrange a marriage for us, but I refused to just wait and do nothing like in my previous life. Just as I was about to take the initiative, I got my answer. William agreed. I knew then, I wasn't the only one who had been reborn.